Good morning and welcome to another episode of State of the Build here on the Peak Auto YouTube channel. I'm Emily Reeves, your host, and as usual, we have a fun episode for you guys. We have a returning guest, which, you know, that's only happened a couple of times, and in my mind, it's way worth it. We have a lot of friends that have a lot of really cool builds, and this one was just undeniably good, where we just had to hear more about it. We've got Rich from Deboss Garage, and somehow the dude ended up with a square body on a tank. And we have got to hear the rundown of this and get the plan for it. The thing is nuts. Let's send Rich and his right-hand man, Aaron, a text. Rich and Aaron, what's up, y'all? We cannot wait to get a rundown on the tank truck. How in the world did you find that thing? Were you searching online? I think I want to find a square body on a tank. I'm gonna find one of those. What? How the heck? I can't wait to hear the story of this. I know you, and I know you've got a good story.
Hi Emily, thanks for having me back on the show again. It's always fun doing these with you, and yeah, it's exactly what you think it is. It's a 1980 GMC square body on a Sherman tank undercarriage. So how we got it was kind of a funny story. Like the YouTube and the online world is such a cool place. We actually bought a old cab over, and that one wasn't worth fixing. So when we finished the video, we said, you know, we bought it, we took a chance on it. It's not worth spending all this time and money on it. So we just reached out and said at the end of the video, if anybody's got another truck, you know, really want a cab over, hit us up. And the guy emailed us. It was a few weeks later. He said he was catching up on videos, and he had the exact same cab over that we had in better shape. And he said, yeah, you know what, if you want to come down, I'm only like an hour and a half from you guys. But my uncle also has some cool stuff, and he had this. So we said, well, is it for sale? He goes, yeah, my uncle's a businessman, everything's for sale. So we went and looked at the cab over and opened the door and closed it, and then we're like, yeah, let's go see your uncle, because we kind of want to check out this truck tank. So we made a deal, and we actually called our one sponsor, V&R Recycling. They've got some heavy duty trucks and trailers, and called them up and said, yeah, we made the deal, so bring a float and we'll float it home. So this ended up in the driveway. I told my wife I was buying another truck. She didn't know it was this, so yeah, good times.
Ooh, I see we got an awesome paint job livery situation for our tank truck. It looks so badass. I have so many questions, like how do you adapt all of the tank components to a square body? Like, is it powered by the tank power plant or the square body power plant? What's the transmission? What's the steering like? There's so many foreign components there in my mind that I'm like so confused as to how it all operates. Give us a rundown of that.
Okay, so we got it home, and there was lots of surprises. Some of the surprises actually were that this thing's been floating around the internet for about 10 years. The guy that we got it off of, it's actually functional. When we bought it, it did two things. It moved very slowly, and it turned. The steering is actually connected to the pitman arm on the steering box, and on a tank, on a Sherman, you pull one lever and it puts a brake on one side, and you turn that way. It doesn't do full 360s, but it does turn that way. So the pitman arm works great just on two chains. It goes slack when you pull it the one way on the one arm and pulls tight on the other one, and then when you turn the wheel the other way, the opposite happens. So the internet has never actually seen it move, though. It's been on like Chevy forums and monster backyard builds. I found it in a swamp type of thing. So he actually used it to pull muck out of swamps. And the muck is very rich in nutrients, and he would sell that to nurseries, and then that was it. When he ran out of the contract, He parked the thing and left it alone. It sat in the swamp for about 10 years, and he told that he had to get it home. That it was in his yard when we bought it, not in the swamp. You could tell it was in the swamp. It was full of mice, full of like the raccoons and whatever ate the seat. There's all moss in the back. And again, the engine ran. It was a little 4 cylinders, 471, not turboed, so it has a blower on it. So when we got it, it had the 471 in the back with a 4-speed manual transmission, and then a drive shaft that hooks up to the tank manual transmission. The issue is that the four cylinder didn't have enough power to get it up to speed, and when you put in the clutch to shift the tank transmission, because it's so heavy, it would just roll to a stop before you could get the next gear. It's never left second gear. Now, I want to say it's a Sherman, but it's not an actual Sherman. It's not a armored hull. It was built by a company called Medill, as far as we can tell, who built repurposed military equipment after the war in the late 40s, and this would have had a winch on it pulling trees up a mountain in British Columbia. It actually came from British Columbia, which is about 3,000 miles west of where we are. I don't know how they got it here, whether it was on a train or whatnot, but it made it all the way to Ontario. And then we bought it, and it was just a truck on the shell, 4 bolts holding it down, and a 4-cylinder in the back. So we've done quite a bit to it now. We did one video of it driving, but it was just like a brisk walk, was the fastest speed. And then we roasted the clutch pretty quick because we tried doing more stuff than we should, knocked down a bunch of trees. And then this is just a really, really fun project where I get to use my imagination to build whatever comes to mind. And it's been a lot of fun.
Where do you go from here? Oh my God.
Oh, mods! Yeah, I'm getting kind of sick of walking up and down all the time. The first thing we did was, well, it was underpowered, but we really like the 2-stroke Detroits. So we had a 6V71 that we took out of a generator that was in really good shape. And it had its own radiator and frame and everything that it was sitting on. So we put it out back 2 years ago and had no idea what to do with it. We almost sold it and thought, you know what, it's probably a perfect fit for this thing. The 471 probably had about 120 horse. This is about double that. And we can go bigger. The issue is if we break anything on the Sherman part, then it's going to be really expensive. So we figure if we start about 250 horse, we find that underpowered, we can go up from there. And that whole engine, because it's on its own frame, we can lift the whole thing out, put another engine in that frame with the same radiator and everything, and it's a moderately easy engine swap. So we upped the horsepower to about 250. So this has a blower in the valley. All 2-stroke diesels have to be supercharged to scavenge the exhaust fumes out. But we can also add a turbo, and if we put the injectors in from a 92 series Detroit, we can get more fuel and more air in there. We can probably get another 50 to 100 horsepower to that, and that should be pretty fun. So moving back with the manual transmission, that manual transmission that was behind the 4-cylinder was just stuck in 3rd gear, and you couldn't do anything with it. So we had Excalibur built as an automatic. So now it's an automatic transmission that's hooked up to the tank manual transmission. So we made it from a 2-speed to 36-speed now. And if we put both transmissions into reverse, we've got like a 10-to-1 ratio, so it'll creep, but it should be able to pull a house down. So this transmission is good for about 250, 300 horsepower, probably about 600 foot-pounds of torque. So this was one of the biggest automatic transmissions that we could find. It's an AT643 or an MT643, I forget. But it's one of the biggest fully manual automatic transmissions that can handle this amount of power. So I had to put a different bell housing on it to make this transmission fit. But now no electronics. If we sink it underwater or whatever, it will still shift. It doesn't have overdrive, which kind of sucks because these tanks do about 25 to 28 miles per hour. If we had overdrive, we could probably get over 30. And it being an agricultural machine, it's probably never left 2nd gear. So 3rd, 4th, and 5th gear in this should be brand new. So I'm still doing a little bit of work, so the last thing to hook up is the drive shaft, but we've actually, with the cable, I just grabbed a long cable and actually hooked it up to the column shifter. So when you sit in the driver's seat, actually pulling the column does shift the transmission back here, and then we're still able to shift the tank transmission as well. We added a big giant winch that was off a crane, so that's hydraulically powered. And then because the engine was so big, I had to put this big L channel along the side of it because I actually had to cut the C's out of the inside of the frame to fit around the engine. So then I thought, why not put it on hydraulic? So I just put 2 big cylinders on it, and the whole truck lifts up. So I can work on it easy, because climbing underneath here is a real pain. So one handle lifts up the truck, the other handle does the hydraulic winch, just for now. We put the 4-cylinder that was in here, we put that under the hood, and then that'll run the winch on its own. If that engine ever dies and we're in a swamp and we need to get out, we can fire up the other engine, run the hydraulics, and I can actually run them off of both, doing some fancy plumbing with the hydraulics. That way I can run the winch off the back engine or the front engine and then get out, because it doesn't like to move very easy on its own. For inside, we got all the creature comforts. We got, I'll take Aaron's camera. It was really rough before. The headliner was all falling down, and it was pretty rough. We went to scrapyard, found a new dash pad for it, and then I got to do the electronics, all the wiring on it yet. But what I did do is put 2 cylinders underneath the floor, and they're hooked up to 2 cylinders on the tank transmission. So I have these 2 handles to be able to shift the tank transmission down below. These 2 do my H pattern, so one does forward and back, and the other handle does side to side. Now I can get all the gears from up here way down below, and it's all hydraulic lines. So I can tilt the tank up without unhooking anything. I can't see what gear I'm in, so we bought a double-din stereo with a backup camera. We just put the backup camera on the tank transmission, and that way I can see what gear I'm in. So throttle will be hooked up to the throttle pedal, and the brakes, we added brakes to it as well on the drive shaft. So now it's just like a normal drive truck. Under the front, this is the 4-cylinder. I just welded it in place. I need a couple parts for it, and I don't have the hydraulic pump yet for the back. It's a big pump and it's expensive, so I'm sure I'll come across one. When I do, I'll hook it up, but now it's officially a 10-cylinder. If nothing else, it'll run for a bit for shows and that. It's gonna go to a bunch of shows this summer. We met a lot of cool people that actually own real tanks, so we got to drive some of their tanks and figure out how the thing actually is supposed to work, and then kind of went off of that idea. So I'm gonna probably just weld the hood back on again. The hinges were all seized, and just cut a hole in for the turbo, and then the whole truck lifts up anyway if we got to work on it. It's really easy to get at the engine when the truck is up. So other than the wiring and the finishing the brakes, we're just about ready to start crushing some cars and see if we can jump this thing. I don't think we can.
Oh my gosh, you can see my breath. It's really cold in the shop. I don't even know how to respond to everything that I just heard. You guys are crazy. Even down to like the fact that the whole entire truck is like a hood. Like, you know, we'd pop the hood to access the engine. Oh, we need to access the engine? Let's be able to pop the entire truck off of the whole entire tank. Yeah, that makes sense. There has to be so many moving parts to be able to move the entire truck, where you have all of the hydraulic arms and everything operational from inside the cab to, I mean, my brain is just like exploding right now. You guys are crazy. We got a winch and it's off of a crane. What? That is so badass. Oh, and we've got an engine for our winch from the crane as well. If we've sank it and the other engine won't operate, then we can use that engine. You guys are just on another level here. Like, wow. I mean, there was so much there that I could unpack and just freak out about. My gosh, just so insanely badass. We met some friends with tanks. We got to drive their tanks. Like you said, if you break stuff, like, you can't find tank parts on Rock Auto. So you gotta be somewhat calculated. Where are we going with this, y'all? Wow. You guys are the freaking best.
So the plan, I don't know if we really went into this with the plan. Thinking now, we're obviously up for tug of wars with anybody. We're really, you know what, we feel pretty confident with that 10-to-1 gear ratio and it weighing as heavy as it is. We should do all right. We met so many cool people over YouTube, and it's just been a really cool community. So in the meantime, we did end up buying another cab over. We bought a 1987 K100. So we did the frames all done on that. The cab is actually getting painted tomorrow, which is always super exciting. And then we'll actually be able to pull this thing around. So I jump into projects before I fully think it through, but I bought the cab over without actually having my license to drive it. So in May, I'm getting my AZ license. We call it AZ license here in Ontario. And that'll allow me to actually drive my cab over. And then we've got a trailer dedicated to haul this thing around. So I don't know if we're gonna be in Texas anytime soon, but we'll probably end up down in Florida with this thing. We're definitely gonna be in Bowling Green, Kentucky at some point with this thing. It's just a really, really cool truck. And I'm actually really excited to just have some fun with it. So we took it through the creek once already. I hope we can still get one more dumping of snow, or we can throw some snow around, maybe pull some vehicles out of the ditches. If nothing else, I thought maybe, you know what, a good off-road recovery vehicle. We've seen transport trucks stuck in fields because they fell asleep at the wheel or whatever. I thought it'd be cool to, you know, how do you get a transport truck out of a wet field that's loaded with 40 ton, 60 ton? So this thing would be pretty cool for that. So I don't know exactly what we've all got in store, but yeah, if you keep up on the videos, we'll have all of them posted when we do drive it. We'll definitely make a video and show the fun that we can have with that. So yeah.
Of course you would do some kind of public service route with this rig, because who has a tank that they can just pull people out with? I mean, come on. You owe it to the community to be there. I freaking love you guys. This may be too much to ask, but I would love to hear this thing run at least one of the engines. Assuming the cab will lift up right now for you, I would love to see that whole action take place. I'm fairly certain the viewership would agree. Let me be clear, you guys are legends. This truck is so killer. I cannot thank y'all enough for giving us the rundown on it and taking the time to make this episode. I just want to see it in person and drive it. Oh my gosh. Can we hear it run?
So awesome. I love this thing. I love it when it actually works.
You guys did not disappoint. That thing is so stellar. Holy cow. I can just smell how it smells in the shop right now after that diesel engine running. It's so good. How rad was this episode, you guys? Seriously, take the time to leave a comment down for Deboss Garage. I'm certain you're already subscribed to watch the mayhem unfold. They do such cool stuff, and this is no exception. I absolutely love the versatility of this series. Thank you guys so much for watching. I cannot tell you how much we appreciate the support. They've trusted me with building this series and having my friends on and showing the cool builds that they're doing, and I can't thank them enough for the opportunity. I really love this series. I look forward to the next one. I hope you do too. We'll see y'all soon.